Hey everybody, spring is most definitely here, and if you want to capture some of it on film, you're going to need a camera. Whether you've been away from film for a bit or whether you've not shot film before and you want to just dip a toe into the water and see if it's right for you. I've got some really cost effective film cameras to show you today. So buckle up, hold on tight, and stay tuned because here we go. Well, hey everybody, thank you for checking in once again and welcome to another one. So, cheap film cameras doesn't have to mean low quality, poor film cameras. In fact, sometimes it means quite the reverse. As is the case with this camera. This is the first one I'm going to show you today, but this is representative of a group of cameras. This is not just one camera. Well, it is just one camera, but stay with me. You'll see what I mean in a moment. This is a Praktica FX2. It was made in the former East Germany during, I think, the late 50s and the early 60s. Sometime around then, I think. This is quite an unusual, this is fairly early Praktica. It's quite an unusual camera in that it's actually got a waist level finder that snicks up just like that on this nice little sneaky snacky mechanism, and it is really nicely engineered actually. Just let me listen to that noise again. There we are. That's a nicely engineered sound. That speaks good construction, and generally this is a really high quality camera. Praktica cameras are cheap. Praktica cameras are not quite as well finished as their Western counterparts, but they seem to stand the test of time just as well, in my experience. And they are, within an ace, just as well made, sometimes better made. There's not necessarily any quality hit that you take when you buy one of these old cameras. Now, why am I talking about this camera in particular? I said it wasn't just one camera, and it isn't. And the secret to it being not just one camera lies in the lens. This lens is a screw mount M42 thread mount, and this mount was used by, gosh, loads and loads of camera manufacturers, loads and loads of lens manufacturers. So you can get lenses from Carl Zeiss Jena, Pentax, Helios, Praktica, gosh, which other ones? Fuji did some, Fujifilm I think did some M42 lenses. Pretty much everybody, almost everybody did M42 lenses at one time or another. So the reason this is not just one camera is that there are many M42 mount cameras, and I think all of the Prakticas up to the later black plastic models, models like, what were they called now? Oh gosh, let me think, my mind's suddenly gone blank. I think they were PA or PB models, I can't quite remember now, I'll put it on screen, but they're the black plastic ones, slightly smaller than these ones. So the M42 ones, which comprise an enormous amount of Praktica production, they're all silver, so you can pretty easily recognize them by their all silver or silver and black body. The later ones are a Praktica mount, and you can't use as many lenses on them. On these you can use hundreds, maybe thousands of lenses, and that's why this is a really good camera. They're really cheap as well. These cost around about, well, any Praktica camera shouldn't cost you any more, body only shouldn't cost you any more than £20 or thereabouts. Let's just have a closer look in at this one, and then we'll say a little bit more about it. So there's our camera with its waist level finder in the upright position, and you can see that this one has got on this lens. This is the Praktica f1.8 50mm. That's a really nice lens actually, and this is a cheap lens. Many of the Praktica cameras come with this lens. Many of them come with the Carl Zeiss Jena Tessar 50mm f2.8. Both of those are nice lenses. This one's slightly more expensive, but you can buy this camera body only all day long for £20 or thereabouts. There's the waist level finder. I don't know if we'll be able to see anything, if I can actually focus on anything and show you anything through that finder. Might be able to see the floor. No, it doesn't want to play today. It's not terribly easy to show an image actually on these cameras when you're trying to film that image. It's far easier when you actually look down the viewfinder, but most practicas don't have this viewfinder. Most have just an ordinary viewfinder that you look through with your eye. This has a little magnification, just like a magnification lens here, just like the Rolleiflex cameras do, and that will help you to focus, because they are a little tricky to focus, and you do have to take your time with these waist level finders. But a great little M42 camera. It stood the test of time and it's still in good order. Let's just fire it. There's the shutter speed dial there with a very nicely clearly marked selector. This camera uses the Leica type cloth shutter, which is different to the later Practicas, which had a metal shutter. And there is our shutter release right on the front, a very handy position. Boink, and there we go. A very nice little machine from Practica. So this Practica, of course, isn't the only M42 camera. There were many of them made. Practica made lots and lots of them, but so did Pentax, and a good Pentax Spotmatic is not expensive. That's a real top quality camera, the Pentax Spotmatic, and they're well worth going for if you want an M42 camera. I mentioned that some of the Fujifilm cameras, the earlier ones from the sort of early to mid 60s, were M42, and a little later as well. I think there were lots of manufacturers made these. Of course, Zenit is another really cheap version you can get. That's the Russian version from the former Soviet days. But these Practicas are a really good bet, and you can buy a good one for about £20. But any M42 camera will give you access to hundreds, if not thousands, of lenses, and that's why I recommend one of these as a real great way into film, whether you're coming back into film or whether you're just starting out in film and you want to see whether it suits you. A really good choice. Okay, here's another camera that is not one camera, but also many cameras, at least in the context of this episode. This is a little Vivitar camera, and when I say little, it really is small. It fits really nicely into my hand, and it's just the perfect size for carrying around all day. It's very small, very neat, very unobtrusive. Vivitar, as I understand it, did not make their own cameras or lenses, although correct me if you know different. As I understand it, they subcontracted all of their manufacturing to companies like Cosina, or maybe even Chinon, I don't know, but certainly I think, well, I'm pretty sure, I'm not certain, but I think Cosina. And this feels like a Cosina made camera, and it looks like a Cosina made camera, so I think it probably is a Cosina made camera. We shouldn't look down our noses at Cosina, by the way. They've made some really good cameras. They've made cameras for everybody under the sun. Consumer models for the major manufacturers in the 90s. They made the lovely little rangefinder models whose exact name escapes me, but I'll put on screen. They made those during the 2000s, lovely little L39 rangefinders, and they also did an M-mount version, and they sold really well at the time. Really well liked cameras. So we shouldn't look down our nose at Cosina. Very highly reputable camera company. So why is this many cameras? Well, again, it's to do with the lens, and this is a K-mount lens. It's a bayonet mount. It's got a little bayonet mount on the back there, and this was a sort of a follow-up to the M42 mount. Both mounts, as I understand it, came from Pentax, although again, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they came from Pentax. And Pentax's follow-up design to the M42 mount was this bayonet K mount. And again, many hundreds, if not thousands of lenses are available in this mount. There are K-mount lenses by Pentax, there are K-mount lenses by Chinon, there are Pentax lenses by Cosina, there are Pentax lenses by loads and loads and loads of manufacturers. Lovely Pentax lenses, and some lovely wonderful third-party lenses also, like this one. This is a Vivitar branded, it's probably a Cosina made, Vivitar branded 50mm f1.7. It's a hefty lens, it's all metal and it's very nice quality, and this lens makes some really nice images. So, you know, a K-mount camera, you really can't go wrong. A lot of them had automation by this time. This one, in fact, is a purely automatic camera. It's only auto exposure. It's also got a flash setting and a B setting, so this is a really simple camera to use. Cameras of a similar size that had manual settings, the Pentax ME springs to mind. Many of the Cosina models also spring to mind. So there are lots of K-mount camera bodies with manual function if you want that, with aperture priority, shutter priority, all the usual stuff, and auto as well. This one's all auto, nice for beginners. If you want a nice easy beginner's camera, let's have a closer look at this one. So there's our little Vivitar body with its bayonet K-mount here right on the front. What else we got? We got a self-timer. I'll show you the top plate. I don't know what I'm thinking of there. We've got, here's the, what would usually be the shutter speed dial. So you can see this is an all-automatic, very simple camera. Wind lever here, shutter button here, and rewind over here, just in the usual place. So this is a very conventional camera. We've got, what's this? This is the ISO dial around the this control here, and we've got a hot shoe on here for any flash work you want to do. The lens that this one comes with is actually quite a nice one. I've shot this lens on my Sony A7 and it does seem to work really nicely. There's its bayonet mount on the back, and we'll put it back on the camera. So it's all nice and easy. The only thing you have to think about on a camera like this is focusing, and you don't even have to think about that too much, because SLRs, certainly of this day, all have a ground glass screen with a little prism and a little rangefinder, and it's very easy to focus with one of these cameras. These cameras are really cheap. A body only can be found for between £10 to £20, and that pretty much goes for any K-mount camera that isn't a very fancy one. So the Pentax ME models, they might be a little more expensive. They might be £20 to £40, but certainly, excuse me, certainly the Cosina, the Chinon, the Vivitar cameras, they can all be found for between £10 and £20 for a body only, and round about £30 to £40 with a lens. And you might be surprised with the lens you get. There are some really nice lenses made by Chinon, Cosina, Vivitar et al. These are great little film cameras if you want to dip your toe into film, and if you're a photographer who's interested in making images and making art. Film's a great way to do it. It's a beautiful, slow, wonderful, passive process that's very similar but very different at the same time to digital photography. It's worth a go. If you haven't done it, have a go at it. You might well like it, and I think you will. So finalement, aujourd'hui, we've got one of these cameras. This is a really wonderful camera that I picked up probably 2 or 3 years ago, but prices have not risen very much. These cameras are very cheap. Body only, around about £20. You see some of them more expensive, more expensively advertised, but they only go up to about £40 to £50 at the very most. These cameras are very cheap. It's a Nikon F60. So this is quite a nice camera. This is a consumer camera from the 90s. You can see it's all big and roundy, and you know, it's got all that sort of 90s roundy styling that got rid of all those nice classic camera straight edges, but it's still a really capable 35mm film camera, and it will shoot, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll shoot most, if not all, Nikon lenses from about 1959. This is the F60. There are F70 and F80 models. They get a bit more expensive, but the F70s you can find for 20 quid all day long. Even the F80s that are more fully featured, more modern cameras, even they can be found for about £40. So these are not expensive by any means. This is a fully featured SLR in that it has manual, aperture priority, shutter priority and a P setting, and it's also got some modes around the top there. If anybody likes to use modes, I steer clear of them myself, but they're there if you like to use them. So we've got a lot of modernity in this camera. This is a very modern camera, and anybody who's used a digital SLR, well, you're going to feel right at home using this camera. This is, you know, very similar to using an SLR. Once you put your film in, you can't change your ISO, and you're limited to 36 shots at most. But after that, it's very similar to using a digital SLR. You can use it as a point and shoot, set it to auto, press the button, it auto exposes and it auto focuses. I should have said this is an autofocus camera. That makes things really easy. So you can set it to auto, fire off shots all day long on auto, really easy as a point and shoot. Or you can use it on manual, or my recommended, or at least my favourite, is aperture priority, and that's what I would use this one on all day long. Let's have a closer look at this lovely old Nikon and see what it's about. So there she blows. There's our Nikon F60, and the first thing I'll show you is the top plate, because it's so similar to a DSLR. Look, we've got the PASM dial around here. There's the modes that I was telling you about. Let's have some focus, please. Thank you. Yeah, so there are the modes that I was telling you about. Hot shoe for flash work, and an LCD screen here because we're now into the 2000s. This camera is a 2000s camera. At least I'm pretty sure it is. It's certainly late 90s, early 2000s. And so it really does look like a modern SLR, digital SLR to use. We've got a very similar on-off switch to that which you would find on a DSLR. And generally the experience is very similar. Here's the camera in a little more general view, so we can see there that there's the manual autofocus switch and the button to press to get the lens off. There's the rear of the camera. The whole thing is all in that roundy 90s, early 2000s fashion. And we've got a nice big grip here on this side, just like on a DSLR, and that's a really good grip to hold. That gives you some very stable, a very stable point of contact with your camera. So a really great camera, a really nice little piece of kit, and very cheap too. Now, it's true that these 90s SLRs don't have the look of the classic vintage SLRs from the 60s, 70s and 80s. They don't have that very cool angular styling with the straight lines and shiny metal, chrome finish, chrome screws and all the rest of it. It really does look like a DSLR. You can see it in every aspect of its design and every aspect of its function. But don't let that put you off. This is a really capable SLR. It's got autofocus. You can use it as a point and shoot if you want. You can snap away all day long and hardly pay any attention to what you're doing except in composition through the viewfinder. And that, after all, is the important bit. There are Canon equivalents to these late 90s, early 2000s Nikons. Canon made their own series of EOS or EOS, never quite sure how to say it, cameras. They shoot ES lenses, though all the ES lenses that were made for them they will shoot, plus lots, if not all, of the later modern Canon lenses. I'm not sure if they will shoot the very latest up to the minute ones, but I know, or I'm pretty sure, that they will shoot lots of the Canon lenses that were made for the DSLRs that came a little later on. So the Canon models have a huge range of lenses and they're very cheap. This is a Nikon model, again a huge range of lenses, and they're very cheap. Did I tell you how much these are? Well, if I didn't, I'll tell you again, because I can't remember whether I did or not. They're about 20 quid you can find them for, certainly 20 to 40 quid. The F60 and the later F70 you can buy all day long at 20 to 40 quid, and that's a real bargain. The F8 tends to be a little more expensive, but that one I was looking on eBay earlier on today. There are plenty of those for 40 quid, so the later and better functioning, or at least better featured, if that is better, F80, that can be found for 40 quid. But this is a really capable camera, and you know, even though it doesn't have the classic styling, I think these should be on everyone's radar who wants to get into film or shoot a little film cheaply. On the subject of film, film has got more expensive, yes, and it's now lots and lots of money for a roll of colour 35mm film, but black and white 35mm film that you develop yourself from one of the lesser known brands, those are really nice films and they're really cost effective. You can develop film yourself and scan it yourself at home and still be not quite laughing all the way to the bank, but still have plenty of dosh left in your pocket. So film needn't be that expensive, neither the celluloid that goes into them or the actual cameras and lenses themselves. And I hope I've managed to show you that today, and I hope you managed to get around to shooting some film, whether it's with one of these cameras or any other kind of camera. So there we are, lots of wonderful cheap film cameras to shoot some film. A lovely passive chemical light gathering medium, quite miraculous. So I guess that's about it from me for this week. Many thanks for watching. If you've got this far, a particular thanks to you. Many thanks go to subscribers for your support, and if you've enjoyed this show, you might want to chuck us a sub yourself. That would be very much appreciated. Many thanks go to patrons for your support. Without that support, I couldn't make this show in the way that I do, so that support is really massively appreciated. Thank you for that. Thank you to everybody who's watched, tuned in, given thanks, given super thanks, given a subscription or engaged with the channel in any way. Many thanks to everybody. It is all genuinely appreciated. And if you're not doing anything too difficult, irksome, bothersome, irritating or annoying next week at around this time, please do check in and join me for a spot more Zenography. Cheerio all.